What up, everybody? Rarity here. The game Magic Legends is an action RPG set in the Magic the Gathering universe, and it takes some cool ideas from card games and implements them in a unique way for action RPGs. Now, I've had about a dozen hours or so playing the game myself, and I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts to let you know if you should download the game yourself and try it out. Now, in order to keep the video length down a little bit, I'm not going to go too in depth on any of these topics, but I do have a lot of ideas behind them and thoughts on things that can be improved. So if you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below and I'll answer them with my thoughts and ideas, and we can collaborate and maybe talk to the developers a little bit on things that can be introduced and changed. I'd like to kick things off by saying that I think the art direction for this game is really one of the highlights of the game for me. I think that the backgrounds and landscape always look amazing, and that the character and card animations are really cool. Now, being in open beta, the game's not quite done, but taking a cue from a lot of other companies, releasing the game into open beta / early access so that they can start raking in a little bit of income while they wait for those last couple months of development to continue. Now, the issues that I have noticed are that the frame rate always seems to be a little low, like there's some sort of bottleneck in their game performance that they haven't quite ironed out yet. Character movement's a little stuttery at times, as you sometimes interact with the edge of the gameplay area in a weird way that the visual cue just doesn't quite match up with, as well as some other little bugs and some things that I think could use some polish, like the interface is always a little confusing, sometimes hard to navigate exactly to where you want to go, but these are things that I think could be and will be probably ironed out before the actual release of the game. Now, my next thought on the game is pacing, and that it seems to be a little slow in some areas and a little fast in others, and it really envelops a large portion of what I think will determine if someone is interested in playing this game or not. Introduction to game mechanics like cards and deck building is quite slow, and it takes several hours before you even can compile your first 12-card deck. And other things like in-game shop, the overworld, and instance missions you're not really introduced to at all, and it's just kind of thrown at you like you should already expect to know what's going on, even though they're quite complex systems. There are multiple in-game currencies, and for the most part, they're just introduced to you without any real explanation of how to use them and what's going on. But if you play a lot of free-to-play modeled games, you can probably understand, for the most part, what they are. The three main ones that I've kind of deciphered are Zen, which is your real money transaction, so $1 is equivalent to 100 units in game. You've got something called Ether, which can be used in the in-player market to transfer back and forth between Zen and Ether to just, I guess, keep bots out. And then lastly, you've got Gold, which is used and earned in-game from selling items and killing monsters, and is kind of the catch-all that you can use to spend on almost everything. But yeah, it's all kind of confusing, and you're gonna have to spend some time on your own to really fully understand the ins and outs of all of it, and I myself don't quite fully understand all of it yet. Speaking of in-game currencies, you have the microtransaction store available to you right from the start, so you can go ahead and go purchase whatever service it is that you are interested in, whether that be a name change, an extra deck slot, some booster packs so you can get new gear, new cards, additionally the 6th class that they have available, which you can actually buy with in-game gold, but is going to be so much gold that you probably would never actually be able to buy it with in-game gold. And lastly, like other free-to-play models in this day and age, they have a battle pass where you have 2 different tracks, one of which is free items that you don't have to spend any money to get, and then the premium version where you have additional items that you get for leveling up. But on top of that, they have another tier where you can skip beyond the first 15-25 levels instantly. So they've got the whole suite of microtransactions available to you that you can go ahead and go purchase. Switching gears a little bit over to gameplay, the deck building portion of this game that's really kind of the unique new feature into action RPGs that would make this game stand out against other action RPGs is sort of lackluster. The the deck building portion and the theory crafting and all of that fun, interesting stuff behind the scenes that you would do to match up cool cards and their synergies with artifacts that provide even more synergies and different gear that give you stats that would allow you to fine tune a little bit more towards the tactic you want to use, is all just kind of thrown out the window once you actually implement it into playing the game, because playing the game, really, you're just going to be spamming your abilities against your targets. You're just going to want to use whatever is going to deal more damage than your basic 2 normal attacks and is going to clear your enemies or allow you to evasively maneuver around them more quickly. So sadly, I think that all of the cool, interesting portions of this are really not going to be utilized. I didn't use any mana management at all while I was playing, and sadly, I would hope that these kind of tactics wouldn't have any merit in the more difficult portions of the game, the end game, harder difficulties. But sadly, I think that the meta, if you want to call it that, is just really going to be pick the abilities that do the most damage or are the most evasive to allow you to just skip through or destroy things as fast as possible to get to the end so that you get your rewards and continue that feedback loop. And sadly, I just don't think this is it. After a dozen or so hours, I discovered that I wasn't really having fun with the actual gameplay of the game, and I was spending a lot of my time just trying to trudge through the in-game complex, slow-paced systems, and was just spending time doing quest after quest in hopes that I would get a cool piece of gear or an in-game card that would change how I felt about the game. And really, it was just an endless cycle of frustration, to be honest. And I mean, I guess if you were willing to go into the in-game shop and swipe your credit card and buy a bunch of booster packs or in-game services, then that could jump you past the first, I'm guessing, 20 to 30 hours of the game, where the game might actually start taking off. And I really think the pacing at the beginning of this game is what holds it back. I think a lot of people are going to stop playing the game unless they're willing to swipe their credit card and spend $50 to $60 right off the bat to just even discover what the game's about. And then even then, I think that they might have purchased everything the game has to offer and will find themselves out of content to go through. So like it's sort of a pay to win but pay to skip past content, and I just don't think that the full systems and the game was thought through completely. It might have been like 2 different teams where you had a gameplay team and then you had the microtransaction store team, and they kind of developed things separately but would meet once a week to see if how they could make things intertwine, not necessarily designed with things in mind to intertwine, but how they could tie them together. And honestly, with free-to-play games, a lot of the times this is what happens. I think I'm going to pass on playing this game for a little while until the official release comes out. That way I don't have to worry about the different performance issues that are going on, and hope that they refine some of the complex systems and make it a little more polished. The TLDR conclusion here is really, it's a free-to-play action RPG set in the Magic the Gathering universe. So if you like action RPGs, or if you find the deck crafting and theory crafting interesting, then yeah, I mean, it's free to play. Go download it and try it out for yourself. But you might have to be willing to either A, pay for a bunch of content up front so you can start doing that fun deck theory crafting, or B, be willing to trudge through a couple dozen hours of content before you have enough resources, cards, gear, etc. stockpiled that you can actually start having some fun with the theory crafting. So, I mean, to paraphrase Day 9, another creator, he said, "I'd rather just start having fun than read the first 7 books of a 20-book series before the game starts getting interesting." And that's kind of where this game is. You can either pay to skip past content, or you can trudge along in the free-to-play model and enjoy the ride, I guess. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the game so far. If you are interested in this kind of genre, it's free to play. Go check it out. But if not, then probably give it a pass and move on to the next game. So if you guys thought this was interesting, or if you have any other comments, questions, ideas that you might have about the game, or things you want to talk about and discuss. I've got a lot of other ideas that I just thought were too in-depth or too detailed to really talk about in this video and would really just slow the video pace down. So go ahead and leave some comments down below letting me know what you guys think about those. Give the video a like to help other people find it, and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on all sorts of other games. And I will see you guys in the next video. Ready out.